In expeditions led by American paleontologist Paul Sereno in 1997 and the follow-up trip in 2000, this huge croc skull was discovered in Niger at the El Raz Formation. This species of croc has been named Sarcosuchus, meaning flesh crocodile. It was twice as long as today's largest saltwater crocodiles and weighed up to 8 tons. If full grown, it would have been large enough to take down a T-Rex. Evolutionists say it lived 112 million years ago, based on the layer they found it in. However, the Bible tells us that all animal kinds were created about 6,000 years ago. It also tells us that about 4,400 years ago, a global catastrophic flood covered the whole earth, at which time the fountains of the deep were broken up. Most likely it was during this great flood that this very creature was buried alive and became fossilized. Many would say, well, how do you explain the large size? This is explained by understanding that the earth before the flood was very different. The phrase, "on the other side of the flood," is mentioned 4 times in the last chapter of Joshua. 2 Peter 3:3-6 says, "Knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lusts, and saying, Where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation. For this they willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of God the heavens were of old, and the earth, standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished." This explains why most secular scientists hold to a uniformitarian view of geology, which is the theory that changes in the Earth's crust during geological history have resulted from the action of continuous and uniform processes which required millions of years to form. Simply stated, they believe that it took millions of years to lay down the layers of sediment. But there is evidence that throws a wrench into this theory, such as polystrate tree fossils, which are trees that run vertically through several layers of sediment, proving that the layers were not laid down over millions of years. The worldwide flood described in the Bible would have laid down massive amounts of sediment. It would also have rapidly buried the animals, which explains why we have millions of fossils. Under normal conditions, dead animals do not fossilize, but are scavenged and eventually decay to dust. So the presence of millions of fossils is evidence of a catastrophic flood that rapidly buried the creatures before they could decay. Now, before the flood, the Bible describes the earth as having waters above the atmosphere. This is generally called the canopy theory. Some creation scientists have theorized that it may have been a layer of vapor or ice that was held in place by the Earth's magnetic field. This is called the Meissner effect. The canopy, whether vapor or ice, would have let light in, but would have blocked the harmful UV rays. Some also theorize that this would have made a type of hyperbaric chamber effect. Studies show that hyperbaric chambers speed up healing. Research also shows that they can cause plants to grow huge. This kind of environment would have been much more tropical with a lot more vegetation. It also explains how men were able to live to 969 years and how the animals grew larger, such as giant dragonflies and the megalodon. Crocs are reptiles, and reptiles never stop growing. I believe Sarcosuchus was a pre-flood croc that grew huge in that ideal environment and then died in the global flood. Don't let secular theories ruin your faith in God's Word.